Welcome to another episode of Soul Chats. I'm Jeni, and I'm so excited because today I'm sitting here, and if you're watching on video, you already see Lauri is here with me. And I'm sitting here with Lauri, and I'm so excited because I really alluded to this episode in my first couple of episodes that this was coming. Lauri and I have been working together for the past 2 years. Lauri, like it's been 2 years. And she has absolutely changed so many things for me in the way that I see speaking, the way I view myself, how I show up in the world, and even how I'm even showing up here in this podcast. And so we have created a really beautiful friendship and like entrepreneur bounce ideas off each other type thing. And we were chatting because we both have a lot of the same or similar, I'll say similar, like beliefs about energy and how we want to show up in the world. And in a conversation arose this idea of what we're talking about today, the soul of visibility. And so before we dive into that, I at least would like to let Lauri introduce herself instead of like just sitting there with a smile on her face, like, okay. And really, Lauri, I would love for you to speak today and share something from your soul that is on your soul, your heart today about who you are and the impact you make or are making or want to make in the world.
Hmm. No pressure. No, I'm just kidding.
Girl, you thrive under pressure.
No, thank you. I am Lauri Smith, and you made me think of my life purpose statement that I came up with back when I was in coaching school. You come up with a life purpose statement or a soul's purpose statement. And my view about it is that that's not me. It's not even my soul's purpose. It's like the road sign that can point me back to it when I'm feeling off. And I had like six of them that were all very trying. And then one day when I was assisting a class and I was like very much there to serve and hold space for others while also being really receptive, into my head fell the new one, which is now the one, it's been over a decade and it hasn't changed, which is it makes me a little nervous to say it even now, which is like how you've landed on the right one. I am the wild woman who evokes the full creative expression of humanity within. Uh, that is who I am. There's like an intuitive, soul driven, wild woman who is grounded and knows things when I'm really tapped in. And I believe that like the highest umbrella of what I'm here to do is to help other people express their creativity. And that has come in many forms as I run a business. And then there's something about the second chakra and being heard and seen and understood as my full self, my true self, and for my clients, I'm kind of walking that path and I help other people be seen, be heard, and speak in a way where they get to be them and express. And that being them, expressing, being seen also makes the world a better place. That it is through really being them that they transform the vibe in the rooms that they're in.
I don't think that I've ever heard that version of your soul purpose. I think that's the first time, and it made my heart flutter a little bit, going, "Ooh, okay, like, okay."
Yeah.
And what I love about what you shared, and I was just sitting here so joyfully because so much of our experience out in the world, or what we've learned perhaps up to this point, is we constantly are in these situations where we have to say, this is who I am, and this is my title, and this is who I serve, and this is the impact. And there is, and I say that with a bit of sass, but there is a place for that. And in Soul Chat, the experience that I want to create in this space is to go beyond some of those things and invite you, the listener, the watcher, to explore if you find your mind being like, oh my God, I just don't really know what she's doing. They didn't say the title yet, or something like that. If you find yourself looking for that kind of thing, you'll get it eventually. But I just invite you to just sit with that and notice what's there, and invite you to feel into the energy and into the pulse of the conversation. Because a lot of what we're going to be talking about is the soul of visibility. So, Lauri, I'd love to hear, before we get to that, I'd love to hear from you, why is this mission, like, why do we need this now? Why do more soulful rebels and these creative, wild people need to hear this now?
Hmm. I believe the thing that popped into my head is that saying the definition of insanity is repeating the same actions and expecting different results. Well, humanity is insane. Humanity is repeating some of the same actions and expecting different results. And one of the ones that I see, because of the way that I'm built and what my soul came here to do, is the speaker leader training programs out there, in particular, the speaking ones, like the ones that are like the McDonald's of speaking that everybody knows, were formed with a different goal in mind than what is needed now. They were formed at times when people were working on factory floors and they needed to look the same, wear the same things, say the same things, so that all of the parts on the machines that were being made would come out the same. And that is not where we are now. We're in a time where humanity is trying to change for the better. And it's increasingly feeling like, whether or not this is true, from my perspective, it's feeling like we need to stop banging our heads against the wall and start to actually change things pretty quickly. Um, Enter the light workers, the soul driven entrepreneurs, the people who are starting and running businesses dedicated to their own mission that they believe will make their world or the world a better place. We can't do that if we're unconsciously wearing the mask of what a good speaker was in 1952. That's the banging the head against the wall. It is much easier and more effective to transmute the change that we're here to bring if we really get conscious of what those masks and veils are and release them and show up as ourselves when we're talking and when we're talking about our missions. I think that's all I have to say about that right now.
Yeah, I feel, as you're speaking, I feel like this heaviness. Like I was holding my breath as you were speaking.
Hmm.
And I think that there's this, maybe you'll be able to help frame this or speak into this a little bit more, but like I just feel like there's this dance with, as you said, how it used to be and what we're calling into, but also those of us who are intuitive, who feel energy, who speak energy, who may be sensitive, highly sensitive to things going on. Like I just feel this heaviness and I feel like I want to hold my breath,
Mm-hmm.
when really I know, you know, many of us know that, and we feel ourselves being called into something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if that heaviness is like the performance, or the like needing to look like you got it together. I mean, I know I went through that, but I'm wondering if that's part of the heaviness, or what do you think that is when we're talking about like showing up fully as who we are? I mean, that's a vulnerable place to go.
Yeah, it could be, although right now you don't seem to be in the performing state. So it could be feeling the heaviness of the world
Mm.
and the like, oh gosh, she's saying what's needed right now is that I have to step forward into the heaviness of the world and breathe and change it. And it's not easy because if we're sensitive and we're feeling a fight or flight and a fighting against going on in the world and we're sensitive, we're going to feel a little bit of that shortness of breath.
Mm.
And yet you were in that moment conscious enough to be aware of it. So if you're conscious enough to be aware of it, then you can go, okay, I'm going to take a deep breath and step forward. And I also think that some others out there who are not as aware of their breath, or they haven't honed their sensitivity skills as much as maybe you or I, it can happen subconsciously. So when you
Mm.
realize that you're not breathing and you go into a room and you take a breath, that breath can cause other people to breathe deeper without realizing it. Just like if you yawn, like,
Mm.
if you're tired and you all of a sudden
Oh,
the yawn goes
I'm
through the
almost
room.
yawning. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
taking a deep breath and stepping forward as your full self can have a ripple effect. And yes, it feels like it involves a choice and it involves some courage, and the choice is to breathe and to go against or to choose not to join the people who are not breathing and who are staying in fight or flight.
Mm. Mm. It's what this brings up for me is some of the things that you've heard me say, and I'm not sure how much I've shared these publicly, and I honestly can't remember. I said them in the first two episodes, but this feeling that I have of being a frequency holder, of we've talked about this a little bit, like of being a leader, but not in the ways that even similar, not in the old ways or the ways that one may think it means to be a leader. To me, a leader and a frequency holder means being willing to take that breath in that crowd and stand up and speak from my soul. And when I say that, what I saw is like what you said, that wild woman. I feel like that wild woman inside of me is like waking up, and I'm meeting her in a way that I've not let her come out. And so I can just feel, and the card I pulled for myself today is the tigress, or the
Mm.
tigress. I've never, ever, ever pulled this card. And it says, I own my power and make big moves with confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know you and your work very well, but for those of you who don't know you and your work very well, what maybe translate what I said in a way that speaks into your language with the work that you're doing day to day.
I help people change the world through speaking. That's also a sentence that I've never said before, and it popped into my head. I am the soulful speaking coach. I work with people in groups primarily because if people are holding their breath out in the world, when we come together in a group to work on the craft of speaking or play with the craft of speaking, everybody in the room is making the choice to breathe deeper. Everybody in the room is learning how to embody their wild woman or really tune into their frequency and broadcast that frequency out. Some of the tangible things that I know I have said before. Um, I have a background in theater, I have a background in mindfulness and yoga and leadership and coaching. And what is true in the theater is you rehearse how you're going to do a thing with a scene partner, and then you put it up in front of a preview audience, and then eventually you open the play. And speakers are often, this is changing, but they're often like they're sitting down and doing it all by themselves. Sometimes they're just rewriting the PowerPoint a million times, which is not actually the most effective way to practice for getting on a stage and speaking. Like a basketball player is not going to sit on their couch watching other people play basketball and then show up to play a game. An actor is not going to just stare at their script for 6 weeks and then show up on opening night and expect their body to do the thing and have it feel good. So I also love working in groups because the audience of the small, sacred, intimate circle that you're working with, they are your scene partner. You're talking to them. You are listening to their nonverbal responses. So they're your scene partner and they're also like your test audience. So that then when you make the leap to go out into the world that's not breathing, possibly not mindful, possibly veiled up or masked up, your body has kind of built up an energetic escrow of really being in your frequency and really feeling like your body is present and grounded and vibrant and alive from head to toe. And that to me, the owning the frequency, like you said, is part of the new wave of leadership.
Mm.
It's the be the change. Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. I think people took that and only understood take actions that you think will change the world. And the first word was be. It's about your human beingness, not your human doingness. And we need both. We do have to take some actions from our frequency. And the result is very different if we're doing the things we're called to do, speaking in the places we're called to speak, and we're tuned in to the frequency of our soul versus the frequency of our soul is sort of leaking while we're wearing a mask of what we think we need to be that hasn't really been appropriate since 1952.
Mm-hmm. I'm sitting here in this space listening and really curious the direction to take this conversation, right? Because there's a part of me that is like, yes, let's keep talking energetics. Yes, let's talk about these things. And I'm always down for the energetics. And then there's also this part of me that's like, I know how powerful this work has been, that you've transformed me. And I want others to like understand. So let me just, because I'm like, I feel like there's a question underneath both of those that I really want to explore together. Okay, here's how I would like to set it up, I guess, is the impact that you make is huge. And like any other entrepreneur and business owner, there are many ways that you work, different programs and different things. And one of the main like triggers for me for this conversation was this whole idea of the soul of visibility. And I really would like to dive into that and just hear more like what does that mean? But also before we go there, I feel like it's really important as well, and I'll let you kind of guide when this comes out. It's kind of like here's like the story arc. I'll give you the story arc and then you can help mold it. It's almost like what is the soul of visibility and how did it come about, but also how is this showing up in your work? And then there's a piece where I'm like, how do people know or what like, or maybe they just listen because they can feel the vibrational invite.
Mm-hmm.
So not really a question, but more, you're good at taking my like, here's this ball of energy here.
Yeah. Yeah. You made me think that a lot of the offerings, to use a
Mhm.
tangible world, like what are the classes, what are the programs, what are the things that I'm offering, and what are you going to get out of them? Um, a lot of them have come from resisting at first
Mm,
and then realizing that there's a way I believe it can be done better than most people are doing it, or than our general impression. And visibility is one I've never used the word in any programs, I don't think,
mm,
before. It's become a hot word. And I kind of looked around and was like, there was a conversation that was sparked in WhatsApp between you and I sort of stepped back and looked around and went, oh, the reason I've never done anything with visibility is it feels like, on the whole, it's actually become show up and perform,
Mm,
like show up, tap dance, move more when you're shooting a video that you're going to post somewhere because the movement will attract attention. And that's not truly being seen.
mm,
There's a play called A Doll's House. The doll is actually the wife. It's many, many years old. It is a famous play. And Nora, the main character, literally like dances to get a treat from her husband. That's not visibility. Going, look at me, look at me, look at me, like a neon sign where we feel like we're trying to do something to get a treat, to get clients, to get attention, to get clicks, to get likes. That isn't the soul of visibility. The soul of visibility is, I'm going to show up and open my heart. And I'm going to really be me and be present in this moment. And where we take that is different for every single person. So the other visibility things out there that are telling us that you have to do X exactly the way they're saying it may not actually be visibility for me, where I'm opening up my heart and my soul and being present. So from this, like, you're doing it wrong, I went, oh, well, in the structure of my business, I have things called play shops where people get to come and speak in small groups or breakout rooms. And then I also have an immersion program that's called the Soulful Speaking Immersion. And then I have the Speaker Studio, which is a year-long program where you can do it in shorter bunches. So I have all those pieces. And I also work with people one-on-one if they want to create their new talk one-on-one with me or tweak their talk. Those are all the ways that I work with people. And this visibility thing came up, and I went, well, that sounds like a really good one to look at in a play shop because it's a theme that people can understand. And I also get to have the like, let's have a day where we're doing this a different way. So I'll pick a day, I'll create all the marketing for it, and we'll have the soul of visibility play shop where we really come together and it is not about performing or earning attention. It's about opening up and being seen, being witnessed, being heard in a space where everybody else is doing that too.
mm. I think of, I feel like there's at least one person listening or watching this that gets it and feels it at a deep level. And when you shared that, this will be interesting in the play shop because I'm going. I plan on going. I plan on being there. Is because this dynamic that happens, especially in speaking groups, I'll just kind of give an even playing field. We all come in, we're all energetic beings. We all are there for the intention of being visible and being in the place of the soul of visibility, right? Like we're all in with that space. But then I feel like there's this dynamic that comes up where there'll be different levels and places and spaces where people are at on their journey of speaking or showing up or speaking from the soul of visibility. And so I foresee, let me know if you see the same. I foresee that one of the things may happen is like, oh my God, that person is really good. And then kind of like maybe a shrinking or a, I need to be bigger or something else coming out. So I guess what I want to ask is if someone really wants to show up and go beyond the typical, like, I'm going to add speaking into my business and I want to do that. That's a great reason to be there. But if you're really feeling this, I feel like how can you show up and kind of play all out
Mm-hmm.
and allow yourself to like, I don't know, recognize both sides of the equation are happening.
Mm-hmm. Um, Well, for most of the people that I work with, their business is related to their soul's calling. So hopefully, for the right people, we're speaking to both. Like,
Hmm.
we have heard, and I believe this is actually true, even though it's become lingo, that business involves being visible so that your potential clients can get to know, like, and trust you. That's lingo that, the most masculine networking groups, or maybe not the most masculine, but, your stalwart networking groups and your like rebel, wild woman, we're doing it a different way, might use. Know, like, and trust. So it's a space to practice that. And you made me think of a yoga teacher that I loved back when I lived in a different city. He used to say, if you came here for better biceps, you will get those. And there's a whole other deeper world available to you if you choose to interact with it. And if you're just here for the better biceps, that's just fine. I feel like playing full out is different for every single person. So for some people, playing full out is if you have a moment where somebody else speaks and you're having a like, oh my God, they're so good. If you speak it aloud in the room, it's not like holding you back. You're not pretending that you're not having that response. And what tends to happen in a space like the play shop is that we're going to hold you and love you, even though you're having a response of like, oh my God, Jeni is so good. What are you even doing here? Why are we in the same room? We're going to hold you and love you while you're having that reaction until it processes. And oh, my mind just lost my next thought and it felt so important. I deeply believe this. My yoga teacher used to say at the time there were like 6 billion people on the planet. Um, I'll go with 7 billion different people, 7 billion different paths. And I've totally stolen it. Her name is Jean Mazet. 8 billion people, 8 billion different paths, 8 billion different voices, 8 billion different types of charisma. That I deeply believe this. I believed it in acting classes. I believe it with theater that like someone in an acting class can be, they've performed 47 different roles in the past couple of years. They have a huge resume. Um, and I used to teach like the A section all the way through the E section in one room with 38 students. And then there would be someone in the A section who had never acted a day in their life. Each person in that range has something to teach the others in the room. The person who's never acted before has no bad habits. So if you've never, quote unquote, spoken before and you show up to a play shop, you may have no bad habits. You haven't logged as many repetitions as the person who's done 40 speeches in the last year. The person who's done 40 speeches in the last year might have gotten a little by rote, little disconnected, few bad habits, and can learn from, and even, I hate to bring it back to frequency, but it popped into my head. So apparently I don't. It's like there's a frequency of beginner's mind that beginner has. There's a frequency of experience and like knowing a lot of things because you've done them, not just that you know them, and they can kind of absorb each other's frequency. There's a fire truck going by.
That is like divine timing.
It is. The fire truck wants to highlight this for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. It's like wee 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 wee, and even just
Yeah.
makes me think of the sound of how it gets louder as it gets closer, and
Mm-hmm.
the sound fades off. And if you
Yeah.
chose to, you could follow the sound,
Mm-hmm.
or the sound may push you away depending on what you're doing. And that's
Mm-hmm.
really essentially the frequency of speaking, the soul of visibility, like, and
Mm-hmm.
it feels like the more we drop into our souls and the authenticity of who we are and speaking from that place, it's almost like we're meant to be that fire truck, that siren
Mm-hmm.
to perhaps push people away, but not from a place of meanness or anything, but just push people away and have those follow us who are like, "Ooh, what's that sound? I want to keep going in that
Yeah.
direction." And I think for me, one of the hardest things is to speak from that really vulnerable place. And I just keep trying it. I keep trying, like, okay, what if I just really say what's here? Because I had the
Mm-hmm.
peppy pleaser mask, which is one of the masks that Lauri talks about in her work of showing up. And if y'all have been around for a while, whew, I mean, you can go back in the archives to some of the things. I've had no problem showing up on video, but it
Mm-hmm.
was from a place of like the being seen, getting it right, getting the likes, getting the things. And it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't from the place of being felt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
How have you transformed this idea and this energy for yourself and in your own business?
It's been a long road. It's 17 years now. And there was a lot of meandering and doing what I was such a rebel. I was like, I'm not going to do any branding. I'll do my own website, especially in the beginning, um, because I didn't want somebody to put me in a box that I wasn't. But then I went and did that to myself. And it was even more of a confusing box when I finally was like divinely aligned and drawn to the person who did my branding and my website. Um, it was like a copy paste. So like a whole bunch of different boxes. Like there's a painter, Picasso. It was like energetically, if you felt what I was putting out in the world back before 2020, it was like kind of like a Picasso painting and not a good one though, because it was like a bunch of stuff that didn't actually go together because I didn't want to be put in a box, but then I was off trying to do it myself and kind of going, what do I need to say on a website to get people to understand what I do? And I stumbled across this person in a networking group and kind of said, what do I need? And she said, you need a mirror. You cannot see yourself clearly. I could be that mirror for you with complete and utter non attachment, or it's someone else. But with what you're describing, what you need is a mirror who can reflect back to you who you actually are and then translate that into visuals and words. Because I was pretty good the whole time at showing up and speaking it, except for every once in a while, if it was like, oh, I've got this new thing on the website that I copy paste created. I'm going to walk into the networking room and I'm going to say, some kind of version of what somebody told me should be that. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the time when I would get in the room, I would feel the people and I would be like, I don't know what it says on my website. I am motivated with like the 14 people in this networking group who spoke before me and the energy I'm feeling to say this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I've made a lot of missteps, like the equivalent of the mask in your business with what are the programs that I'm offering. Um, and on the kind of like lighter side of the through line or the golden thread of following my soul, there has been underneath it all, even when I was misstepping at times, this thread of people being able to speak soulfully, to tap into their soul and to use their instrument, which is their body, to share that frequency, that resonance as they're speaking. And as I matured into it, I realized, oh, to me, this is actually it's it's a spiritual path. And it was noticing the signs of somebody actually, he was on my podcast earlier this year. I went to a yoga teacher training when he was um, a student. And then about 5 years later, he had Jean Mazet's teacher training. So I did her teacher training, and then I started going and teaching the voice module. Actually, I was teaching the voice module before I even did it. And then 5 years later, she had passed the baton to other teachers to teach it. She was no longer running the whole thing. And he was there and he said, Lauri's work sent me into a kind of spiritual puberty. And it was like, boom, that totally landed. And we were in the middle of teaching the thing. So I'm like, whoa, that is huge. Write down a note and like keep teaching this class. And I've owned that and gone toward that. And my work and how I work with people has gotten more mature. Where, yes, I have some things that I teach you. And over time, my superpower, I am the wild woman who evokes the full creative expression of humanity within. My superpower is to do that. It's to be present in myself, to watch someone speaking, to follow my intuition, to help evoke their full creative expression. That's hard to plan. It can be hard to talk about with like the tangible words. It's like having a shooting coach or a golf coach. Let's use golf because, I use basketball all the time. So, when you swing the golf club, you've probably heard some things about how you're supposed to swing the golf club. And at a certain point, you might have a master golf coach watch you swing and help you make adjustments to your swing so it goes better. That's what I do for speaking and for acting. I still direct plays, I still work with actors, and it's different for every single person. It might mean that I see where they're hiding in their body. It might mean that I get a sense of what the limiting thoughts are in their mind. It might be that I just get a question that pops into my head and I ask them the question, and that question has them unlock themselves with the answer that comes to them. Um, so my work is very tailored. It's like you can't plan it. I have no idea who, other than you and me right now, because I don't have the sheet in front of me, is going to show up to the Soul of Visitability Play Shop. I do know that there's going to be some of me giving people like, how do you actually be visible? And then people are going to speak and play with it in small groups. And then there's also going to be some people who like speak for the whole room. And I'm going to be the wild woman who helps evoke their full creative expression. Like, I'm not doing it for them. That's one thing that I really know. I'm the mirror, like the branding person said to me. So I'm going to hold up like a mirror of curiosity and a mirror of some intuitive hits and some things to play with and watch people choose and take the steps back to their own soul of visibility speaking.
Mm. So I'm gonna totally be hype. I'm gonna go into hype girl mode now. So when is the play shop? Do you have one coming up?
I do. I'm looking at it right now. The Soul of
Yeah.
Visibility Play Shop, the next one is on June 25th at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. And if you go to my website, voice-matters.com, on the events page, you can find the link there to go register.
Okay, awesome. I'm gonna be a total hype queen again. Okay, so someone is listening, they're coming. Y'all gotta come. You gotta come to this play shop. But of course, things happen. Sometimes there's conflicts in schedules and whatever. So, how can people find you? Where or how do you like to be like? I don't even think you're gonna like this word plugged into, but you're like, I don't like being plugged into. So, like, how I was like, that is so not the word. That is such a hype word. That's almost like the mask of There you go. Look, I just totally dropped into this mask of performing when I'm like, let me be the hype girl.
Yeah, yeah.
How would you like people to connect with you?
Yeah, like step into my orbit or come into my
Oh,
universe, my solar system. My website is really the best hub for then choose your own adventure from there. I am on LinkedIn, I am on Instagram, I am on YouTube. I have a podcast called Soulful Speaking, and my website voice-matters.com or voice-matters.com is the hub, or like the landing place of the solar system where you can find the choose your own adventure from there.
love that. Yeah, get in her orbit. Like you guys, like I know sometimes it's easy to go like follow people on social media and have that be the reminder. Dude, Lauri's gonna orbit right on past. It's kind of like that fire truck going by. Like this is the siren, and if you liked what you heard, like follow the noise, follow the vibration, follow the energy into that space, because otherwise it's gonna come and go. And
Mm-hmm.
who knows when she's gonna drive by your street again. Like, I mean, she's
Yeah.
visible, but also like who knows when she's gonna choose or that those paths are gonna align. So
Yeah.
before we close, what else do you feel like you want to share that maybe wasn't shared today?
Mm. A really specific, it's kind of like we've been dancing all around it. And I'll say it's the title of my book because it was a phrase that fell into my head one day for all of the souls that I'm meant to touch in my life, which is your voice matters. And if you're watching this or listening to this, and a part of you is thinking, oh, she means everybody but me,
Mm.
I'm talking even more to you. Your voice matters. Your presence matters. What you're here to do is needed. The world is hungry for it. The people are following. They're like, where's my fire engine truck that I'm supposed to follow? Because another part of the definition of insanity is repeating the same actions and expecting different results is we've been listening to a lot of the same people who are wearing those masks from the 1950s. So the catch 22 is that some of the people sitting there going, who am I to speak, are the ones we need to hear from because you have a different perspective. You're not part of the definition of insanity. You're here to bring a different way. And my metaphor for humanity is that it's like we're one big orchestra. And for one thing, like the string section has been trying to be drums because they were told they needed to be drums when in reality, they're not a drum. They will never be a drum. It feels off to try to be a drum. They're a string section. And then, like, the wind instruments are thinking, who am I to play in this orchestra? How humanity will improve faster, better, consciousness will be raised is when all of the humans speak from their souls full out, which doesn't mean performing or trying to be a drum set. It means be a wind instrument if you're a wind instrument, be a violin if you're a violin, and abso-freaking-lutely if you're a drum set and somebody told you you were too loud or too big or too much. How does being a drum set align with your purpose? And then play your drum set masterfully.
Mm. I love that. That's a beautiful way to bring it all together. And the piece that personally, there's so many pieces, but the piece that personally I'm taking away is this idea of the soul of visibility and how it shows up in social media in the world and being mindful to pay attention just because someone is visible, right? Because of marketing and showing up. Because when you said like the masks, from the past being there, is to drop into my body, into my intuition, and feel what that frequency is there. Because, like you said, the visibility may not be the soul of visibility that's there. And so I
Hmm.
feel like it's a new layer of discernment of trusting the soul of visibility, the
Hmm.
energy beyond like, this person had a lot of money and could put a lot of billboards up on the side of the road saying that they were the best dentist, lawyer, da da da, like all the different things. Because I've
Yeah.
seen that too in the dental industry. Best
Hmm.
dentist in town, and they really weren't the greatest because I worked in the
Yeah.
dental industry, right?
Yeah.
So visibility doesn't always mean
Yeah.
landing beyond.
Yeah. Yeah. And feeling it, because you just made me think of the moment where you said plugged in and you were like, oh my gosh, I used this old word. And on some levels, it's almost like you're in this new vibration, which is just like if I'm in France and I'm looking for the word in French, but it's a little newer to me. So the word in English comes out. Or even one time I was traveling in Spain, or sorry, Mexico, after I had been to France, and like the French word popped out of my, like, a group of us who mostly spoke English were talking to someone who spoke Spanish, but the French word popped out of my mouth oddly in this weird situation, but he spoke French. So we were able to help him get where he was going because my mouth opened up and a French word popped out. And I was like, what just happened there? You're like, we're not in France. Learning to speak from our vibration that we're coming home to, every once in a while the word's going to come out and it's going to be like that doesn't feel like I'm speaking soul right now. And it's like, well, it's like speaking French with an American accent. Your soul is still under that word, and find your way to the word that you want.
Mm. Thank you so much, Lauri, for sharing your soul of visibility, your like loving heart, your presence, your wisdom, your experience here on what's the name of my podcast? Soul Chats Podcast.
Soul chats.
I got soul of
Soul chats.
visibility so much in my head. I'm like, wait. Thank you for sharing with Soul Chats. I'm so excited you were able to be here.
Thank you, Jeni.
Bye.